Is this the housing bubble 2020? Are we headed for another housing crisis? Want to know what the Boise housing market forecast for 2020 looks like? All right, let's have a chat. Hi, I'm Charlotte with Birch & Cedar Realty Group. Are we headed for another housing crisis? Is this the housing bubble 2020? Are you curious what the housing market looks like today? And do you want to know what the Boise housing market forecast is for 2020? These are great questions. And there's a lot of unanswered questions around what's happening with COVID-19, how that's going to affect our economy. I mean, right now we're seeing a definite slowdown in the economy. And for those of us that remember 2008, there's a good reason to have these questions and to be concerned. Many of us experienced financial hardships, lost homes, a lot were unemployed during the Great Recession. That recession started with a housing and mortgage crisis. Today we face a very different challenge. It's an external health crisis that actually has paused most of the economy and shut down a large portion of our country. Let's look at 5 things we know about the housing market today that were different in 2008. Number 1, appreciation. There's a big difference between the 6 years prior to the housing crash and the most recent 6-year period of time. As you can see, leading up to the crash, we had a much higher appreciation in this country than we see today. In fact, the highest levels of appreciation most recently is below the lowest level we saw leading up to the crash. Prices have been rising lately, but not at the rate they were climbing back when we had runaway appreciation. Locally, we are seeing a much higher appreciation level than the national average. But it's important to note that that's caused by a really low inventory level, as well as the cost of supplies for new home inventory. It's not an artificial appreciation. Number 2, mortgage credit. On this chart, you're going to see the Mortgage Credit Availability Index. It's a monthly measure by the Mortgage Bankers Association, and it gauges the level of difficulty to secure a loan. The higher the index, the easier it is to get a loan, and the lower the index, the harder it is to get a loan. As you can see in the chart, today we're nowhere near the levels seen before the housing crash, when it was super easy to get approved for a mortgage. And after the crash, we saw a lot of lending standards tightened, and they've remained that way leading up to today. I've talked to several lenders in the Valley, and they've all told me similar situations where it's much more difficult to get a loan right now in light of the health crisis. So those loans that are being procured right now are pretty strong. Number 3, number of homes for sale. One of the causes of the housing crash in 2008 was an oversupply of homes for sale. As you can see in this chart, we don't have enough homes on the market for the number of people who want to buy them. And that's across the country. Nationally, we have less than 6 months of inventory. We have an undersupply of homes available for interested buyers. Locally, our inventory issues have been a big driver for our rising home prices. We continue to be a strong seller's market in most price ranges. Number 4, use of home equity. The chart you can see shows the difference between how people are accessing the equity in their homes today as compared to 2008. In 2008, consumers were harvesting equity from their homes through cash-out refinances, and they were using it to finance their lifestyles like buying a boat and buying a car. Where you'll see on this chart, today consumers are treating their equity in their homes much more cautiously. We just don't see as many equity cash outs as we did in the past, and that's a good thing. People have equity in their homes. Number 5, home equity today. Today, 53.8% of homes across the country have at least 50% equity. Now compare that to 2008, where homeowners were walking away because they owed more than what their homes were worth. With the equity homeowners have now, they're much less likely to walk away from their homes. I wanted to make a note about foreclosures here. Now, I've heard some buyers say that they're going to wait to jump on the housing market until foreclosures start showing up, but the government's doing a lot in order to prevent that from happening. The National Stimulus Package allows for 180-day forbearance, which allows you to postpone your mortgage payments for 180 days. And included in that is a 180-day extension. Now, this only applies to government-backed loans like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So if you don't have a loan that's backed by that, you are not guaranteed that same forbearance policy. The federal government ordered Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to suspend all foreclosures and eviction notices for at least 60 days. Lenders have also learned a lot since 2008, and they're more willing to work with you on a loan modification than have you go through foreclosure. Veros Real Estate Solutions actually put out a forecast that showed the top 10 markets that were the strongest through this coronavirus crisis as well as into 2021. And Boise, Idaho was number 1. Estimates from different sources show the appreciation level for home prices in the Boise area somewhere between 7 and 12%. Now, this appreciation level is going to continue to be driven by inventory levels as well as new home construction costs. We're already seeing some supply disruptions for new home construction, so that's going to affect inventory levels as well as new home prices. The COVID-19 crisis is causing different challenges than it did in 2008. Back then, it was a housing crisis. Today, it's a health crisis. What we know today is that housing is in a much stronger position than it was in 2008. I hope this was helpful. Like, subscribe, and click the little bell. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.